Hi there and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's, and those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed, and they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having. They're making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's, of course, a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. Hi there, and welcome back. I appreciate you always being here and gathering valuable information and resources that I share with you to help you to make the more educated decisions for your family. And today is yet another landmark that we have made. On September 17th, 2025, California approved a law that was allowing their own state to set its own vaccine guidelines. And this has caused a multi-state alliance to emerge. So this is pretty exciting news for parents and people of all ages to be able to make their own decisions a bit more easily on their own health and what is best for them. And this is a strategic landmark beginning to this process that's happening. This is podcast episode number 230, and I will be leaving any show notes there for you. In a landmark move again, California has passed a new law, AB 144, signed by Governor Gavin Newsom on September 17th, 2025. And that gives the state authority to establish its own vaccine schedules and related policies rather than being bound by federal guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. So here is a breakdown of what the law does, why it was enacted, and how it can fit into a broader trend among the U.S. states. So the key provisions of the law, or some of the main changes under AB 144, are that it establishes a baseline for vaccine coverage based on the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices recommendations as of January 1st, 2025. It authorizes the California Department of Public Health to modify or supplement those baseline recommendations using guidance from independent medical organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics or the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, etc. It requires that state-regulated insurance plans, including Medi-Cal,
cover vaccines that the state health department endorses under its guidance, meaning no copays for many Californians under this plan for state recommended vaccines. And it gives California authority to act more independently of federal advisory bodies when those are perceived by state leadership to be compromised or less trustworthy. Why this law was enacted? There are several reasons that motivated the push for this law. Number one, concerns over federal changes. The law reflects growing concern in California and some other states that recent shifts at the federal level, including reconstitution of advisory panels, changes in vaccine eligibility criteria, and what state officials view as politicization of public health, have undermined trust in the CDC's recommendations. Second, the desire for clear access to vaccines. There have been reports of confusion and gaps in access, especially when federal guidance becomes more restrictive. For example, narrowing eligibility requiring doctor visits or prescriptions. And by setting its own guidance and insisting on insurance coverage, the state aims to reduce these barriers. Third, regional coordination. California has joined with other Western states to issue unified vaccine recommendations and to form what is being called the West Coast Health Alliance. So this alliance allows states to coordinate guidance for COVID-19, influenza, RSV, and more. So their populations have similar protections even if federal guidance changes. So which other states are doing similar things? With this law being passed in California, others have taken on this bandwagon as well. It says California is not alone. Like many states, it's stepping up due to concerns over federal vaccine policy shifts. Here are some of the states' alliances involved. So we have the West Coast Health Alliance, which includes California, Oregon, Washington, and Hawaii, which have formed this coalition, and they have jointly issued vaccine guidance for respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19, flu, and RSV. Northeast Public Health Collaborative are several northeastern states that have also moved in this direction, working to jointly issue their own vaccine and public health guidance. States involved include New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, and Rhode Island. Massachusetts has likewise mandated that insurers cover vaccines recommended by its State Department of Public Health, regardless of whether federal authorities maintain or rescind those recommendations. Illinois, there are reports that the Illinois governor has directed the state public health agency to develop vaccine guidelines that may diverge from federal guidance, including expanding the authority of pharmacists and authorizing vaccine administration based on state protocols. What are the implications and the challenges? Well, this shift has a number of potential implications. First, there's public health autonomy. States gaining more control may allow speedier responses to emerging science or local epidemiological conditions. Insurance clarity, requiring state-endorsed vaccines to be covered, removes uncertainty for citizens, especially when federal guidance is in flux. Trust and credibility. When federal agencies are seen as politicized or capricious, state guidance from independent medical bodies may help restore public health. But there's also the risk if a different state, if they diverge too much, making messaging confusing across the state lines. So again, this is where we need to be self-educated. Legal and logistical complexities. Some insurance is regulated at the federal level, and interstate coordination, supply chains, and provider practices may be challenged by divergent state versus federal rules. So in conclusion, we see that California AB 144 marks a significant turning point in how states approach vaccine policy, and no longer will the CDC's guidance be automatically binding. so far as California law is concerned, at least so far, especially when state health authorities find them misaligned with scientific consensus or local needs. As the West Coast states and several in the Northeast and elsewhere show this may be a new normal, the patchwork of state-based vaccine guidance is shaped in part by regional alliances and independent medical organizations rather than a one-size-fits-all standard. So this is huge, huge as far as a step forward for, public opinion, public knowledge, public decisions being able to be made by independent people rather than just being forced by the government to do things that we may or may not believe in. This is about us being able to start being able to make our own decisions more easily. We have been able to it all along, but there has been a lot of bullying. There has been a lot of push, or your child can't go to school if you don't do this or you don't do that. Well, now this is being able to give some flexibility, let's say, to these guidelines and having more ability to make decisions for your family, especially for your children, and maybe when it comes to school, to having more options and more freedom in those decisions. As always, it is important for us to be self-educated. We don't want to just listen to just what some authority figure or seen as authority figure says, because they may not have the accurate information. They may be fed information by a constitution that wants them to only know certain knowledge. And we know that there's more out there, and we know that we can educate ourselves, and I'm here to help you continue to do that. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. I was excited to see this news, and I wanted to make sure that I got it out to you and let you know that things are changing for us in a direction that gives us the ability to make more flexible decisions for our family. And again, personal education is always key, and I'm here to help offer you these resources always. Please share this with others that you know who would be interested in this information. And again, I hope it's been helpful for you. Thank you for being here as usual and for what you're doing for your family. Take care, and I'll see you next time.